So I'm usually a pretty big wuss when it comes to horror movies, but I'm trying to be brave and branch out and watch some of them. So today I'm continuing my series of watching the Dracula films. This is the third one I've seen. The previous one I watched was Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula, the 1958 version, with Christopher Lee playing the, role of Dracula and Peter Cushing playing Van Helsing. So it was interesting to see the comparison between the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi and then the Christopher Lee version, and some of the characters crossed over. Both were based on the book, so I'm assuming this one will be as well, or at least take, very strong reference from the book. I haven't read it, so let me know in the comments if you think I should read it, and let me know what's next in this series. I know there is tons of Dracula films out there, and I try and watch them in order if possible, so let me know what I should watch next. Each film so far has ended with Dracula being killed. In the previous one, we saw, Van Helsing leaps on the curtains and pulls the sun in, and Dracula melts. And previous one, we saw that he had been staked in his coffin. So I'm curious to see where we're going to pick up, which characters will be involved. We saw Jonathan Hawker had been carried over into the 1958 version. So I'm curious to see if that will happen again, where we're going to land in the timeline of Dracula, whose story it's going to be this time. I'm really enjoying watching the Dracula movies so far. I know he's one of those, universal monsters, and today will be the 1960 The Brides of Dracula. So we've seen Dracula surrounded by women in previous versions, so I don't know if this will kind of be from their point of view. And like I said, I don't know too much about the Dracula lore, so I don't know if these characters are in the book or if this was just added in for the movies. But thank you so much for sharing in this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for movies you think I should watch, please comment below. And if you want to have a say in what movies or TV shows I watch, be sure to join Patreon. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content. Okay, another Hammer film production. They produced the 1958 version. Oh, okay, and Peter Cushing's back. Awesome. He was great in the 1958 one as well. And the font and, the style, very, horror movie with this blood and the red, and yeah, it's so creepy. I don't see Christopher Lee's name in the title, so I'm guessing we're going to have someone else play Dracula.
Dead. But his disciples live on to spread the cult and corrupt the world.
Okay, so is Dracula not even in this one? Yeah, they said he is dead, and that's what we saw at the end of that 58 version, so that's interesting.
You won't. The coachman knows I am here.
I know he does, but he'll want to get away as soon as...
I think that's your coach leaving. Yeah.
Don't open it.
I must.
It's so cheesy and dramatic. I love it.
Will you join me?
Thank you. But I already...
Another glass.
She's like, I wasn't really asking. Okay, who's this?
If you'll excuse me, my husband was mistaken. We have a room if you wish.
So you're going to the Langs at Budge.
And now they're like, we don't want you to leave with her because they don't trust her.
The pleasure of being my guest tonight.
I should be more than grateful.
Let us waste no more time then. Come.
She's like, come home with me. I'm perfectly, stranger, but, I'm a Baroness, so that seems trustworthy, right? Just come with me.
A very lonely old woman who often longs for the company of someone with a little breeding. A rare thing in these parts.
Yeah, that's a red flag sentence if I ever heard one. Run, lady, run! It's starting off kind of similar to what we've had in previous Dracula films, where somebody is traveling alone, usually trying to go see Dracula himself, but obviously Dracula doesn't sound like even has a role in this, because they said he, was dead, and I didn't see anything in the credits, so I guess it's gonna be Marianne's story. Always a creepy castle involved, yes! I always love the sets, so yeah, let me know if this castle was if the exterior shot was real.
The night with us. See that she's comfortable. We will have dinner in 10 minutes. Can you be ready by then?
Yes, madame.
Or if, yeah, like the interiors were made like on a soundstage. Yeah, let me know if you know like the production design behind us.
The Baroness always has a second place laid in case somebody should come.
That's just sad, really.
Yes.
I'm getting peak creepy vibes, man. Something's off. Something spooky's gonna happen for sure. Yeah. And like a very ornate, you know, usually in Dracula movies we see like the castle's very decrepit, but yeah, very ornate and detailed and full of color.
I felt sure I saw a young man.
Madame is waiting. Are you about ready?
Almost.
Was this mysterious young man her dinner guest? Okay.
Aren't you having any soup?
I have very little appetite.
I'm starting to think this madame is actually a vampire.
But I was an old woman living here alone. Now you know that I am not alone. I have a son.
Please.
Why were you lying about that? Okay. Oh.
I'm so very sorry.
His illness has destroyed my peace of mind in these last years.
Is his illness being a vampire?
Sure.
People used to come from all over Europe, even from Paris, to be my guests, until he ruined it all.
Yikes, so that's a bit harsh.
If only he could.
What does that mean? Yeah, I don't trust any of this. Be sleeping with one eye open, that's for sure.
The balcony.
I assure you I wasn't. I can't. Come closer.
Why can't he? Oh, don't. He's gonna go for the neck. Don't do it.
I can't come to you.
Why is he literally chained up with like a gold shackle?
Human.
My mother thinks of me as inhuman, doesn't she?
There's some twisted relationship with his mom.
Well, I have to be locked away like this for everybody's sake. Well, why shouldn't she?
Or she knows he's a vampire.
Well, I'm more than half dead already, living shut away like this as I am.
You mustn't talk like that.
I'm assuming he's a vampire. Or does his mom just, like you said, really want control of everything and won't let him leave the house?
It's this.
Where does your mother keep it?
Greta tells me it's in a locked drawer of the bureau in her bedroom.
And Greta's in on it. Okay.
There are grave risks, you know. Do you think you dare?
Yes, I dare.
This lady trusts strangers a lot. A lot. Is not questioning at all why he's chained up. It's just like, yeah, I'll set you free. It's cool. Yeah, it's hard to know whether it's the mom and her just wanting control or, yeah, I'm very worried she's going to set free a vampire. She's reminding me of, like, the stepmother in Cinderella, like the Disney cartoon. With her, like, big gray hair. She's like, I try and do a nice thing and bring back this girl who didn't have a place to stay. Now she's breaking into my house and stealing from my drawers.
Baron,
Yes, yes.
I have found the key.
Good. Show it to me.
One moment.
She doesn't want to bring it to him? This seems more fun. I'll just throw it to you from the balcony. Good luck. Or she doesn't want to get caught, I guess, probably.
I must get dressed at once and meet me outside. Will you?
Yes.
But hurry. Hurry.
I feel like this girl needed to watch a little bit more, you know, horror movies. She was like trusting strangers, meeting them alone in the dark. Like, oh, you want to go? Okay, I'll run away with you. That's cool. And the intense music again. Dun, 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 dun.
Calm you now. You have nothing to fear. Go to your room and wait there.
Mummy dearest. Oh my. And the staircase is obviously, you know, a pivotal part of any Dracula movie as well. And just having, you know, him waiting at the bottom, her at the top, and poor Marianne trying to sneak by, unsuspicious.
Mother, come here.
Mother, come here.
Come here.
He's so creepy the way he talks, and just like this over dramatic, like turn over the shoulder.
Now, Mother, come along with me.
I think that'll be the last we see of Mother.
Oh, God, help us. It's me. It's me. Oh, God, help us. It's God.
She's like, that little jerk. You free a guy once and he just takes off and you never see him again. Honestly. And this like evil laugh. What is happening? She's lost it. Oh, it's Greta.
Look. There's a wolf howling down there.
Yeah, and we've seen bats and wolves in the previous versions.
Eh?
Maybe Greta should be locked up. What's going on? She's got this like cackly laugh. Oh, it's Mother!
She's dead.
Cheese and rice.
He's free.
Oh my god, body count starting already.
Since then, God help you. Keeping him here a prisoner, bringing these young girls to him, keeping them alive.
Oh my god, oh my god.
They're too strong. They've beaten you.
Quite the monologue we've got here.
Kilometers. You've been badly frightened, haven't you? But there's nothing to be afraid of now. I'm a doctor.
I'm glad Van Helsing finds her. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad he finds her as opposed to somebody else. And I love that we get to see some of the characters cross over. We haven't seen Jonathan or anything like that, but obviously Van Helsing's characters, and played by the same actor, which is great.
Landlord? Coffee and cognac, please.
I'm very
Quite the combination.
Superstitions. After all, who knows how she came by her death?
There's usually a good reason for all these old customs.
He's like, yeah, it's not superstitions. I study this. Like, I'm very familiar with Dracula and vampires. He's not gonna be like, convince me about this situation. Yeah, there's the bite marks, and they're like physically like outside the neck this time.
Do you feel well enough to travel now?
Yes.
And of course, the night the Baron escapes, someone ends up dead. As well as his mother.
What you wish?
That is a promise?
Yes.
Good.
She's like, I just didn't want to be late for my first day of school. Okay, I was trying to do a good thing. Get scooped up by the Baroness. I mean, tale as old as time. Who hasn't been there?
A rule, sir. A rule of the academy. The staff are allowed no followers. No followers.
I'm a doctor.
Oh, well, that's okay. You're like, I won't listen to you, but if, you know, bring a doctor to the situation who's got a business card, that changes everything. You know, suddenly your story is very credible.
Thank you. Now, if you will excuse me.
Dear sir, you're a most obedient servant, always.
That's a creepy way to end a conversation, but okay.
My son, you must put out of your mind the idea that she ever was your daughter.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
It contains holy water. It may be of service to you.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah, we saw that in the 58 version as well. Someone had been turned into a vampire, and they have to go and unalive them again.
Now, just one little effort more. You'll soon be here. Come now.
She's like encouraging her through the soil, like, yes, you can do it. Be the vampire you're meant to be. Oh my gosh.
There, the master's waiting for you.
So creepy. Yeah, you just see this, like, the dirt moving. Ugh, gross.
There's my clever one.
And the dramatic organ music in the background. Oh my god. Yeah, straight out of the coffin. Here she is. Oh, there she is. Yep, as a bat. Da 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 da. And it's interesting how to see, like, they alter their appearance to be vampires in each version. Like, her face was very, very pale compared to the rest of her body. And yeah, we've seen the bats and wolves. He's like, take that! Yeah, she's a vampire now too.
Who is it that is not afraid?
She's like, let me just very subtly hide my teeth from you, from my fangs.
To find your son?
Then you know who I am.
I know who you were.
Ah, like mother, like son. Cue the Baron. Dun 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 dun. He's like, don't worry, I've come home, mother. Take that! Oh, bonked him with the candlestick. Oh my god, a polar bear rug? He really loves using these long tables to kill vampires. Ooh! I spoke too soon. And again, as we saw in the 58 one, the vampire, our main, you know, it's not Dracula, but our main villain throughout this only appears in like a handful of scenes so far.
Baron, is she well?
I regret to have to tell you that she is dead.
More like undead, thanks to this guy.
Well, and now, monsieur, I shall leave you entirely to yourselves for 10 minutes.
She's like, not a minute longer though, so don't get up to anything crazy, haha!
Me?
Keeping an eye on what?
A pair of turtle doves, bless their hearts.
Who?
Mademoiselle Danielle.
She thinks she's playing matchmaker, but really Marianne's about to be vampire.
Stop! What do you think you're doing? Shameless little hussy.
Oh my god.
Under the circumstances. I've long wanted to meet you, an old and valued tenant.
I'm no tenant of yours, you young jackass. Of the Meinster estate.
Exactly. And I am Baron Meinster. I must apologize for not having called.
He's like, oh, I regret name calling you now that I know you're actually the landlord.
And Frau Lang on having the most charming house and grounds.
Mine Herrschaft.
At so low a rent.
Well, that was awkward, yeah.
Shan't allow that. Oh, the toast! What a terrible smell!
She's like, sorry, I got distracted daydreaming over this vampire and burnt the toast. Yeah, and of course he has no reflection. Dun da da da. The Baron. And he's got like the red eyes in this version as well. She's like, I hope you didn't hear me talking about how handsome I think you are. Oh god, yep. He had to do it. And they always like wake up while they're being staked. Bye, Baroness.
Bronchitis or pneumonia you never control. Well, extract of gum benzoin. Yes.
What kind of concoction is this?
My head. And don't you pay any attention to anything I may say. Eh? Well, here we go.
Is it gonna get high? He's like, just totally normal. I'm just gonna stick my head over this bucket. No big deal.
No, that's probably a pet animal, a dog or a cat. The villagers fondle them, you know.
A dog or a cat? Come on. What medical school did this guy go to?
Vampire? Oh, no, really. No. Well, the peasants are always going on about, well.
Van Helsing's like, me, I love a skeptic. Let me tell you about vampires.
Spoil your personal happiness. Have you told Dr. Van Helsing?
Helga.
Coming, dear.
Yeah, how's Van Helsing gonna respond when he finds out she's engaged to a vampire? This guy is so ridiculous. Hello, Gina the vampire. Dun 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 dun. With their new fangs, yeah. Marianne is like, oh my god.
You haven't forgotten your little Gina. Put your arms around me, please. I want to kiss you.
Nope, nope, that's a hard pass. Don't do it.
Say that you forgive me for letting him love me.
She's like, my Baron? How could you?
We can both love him, my darling. He's up at the old mill now.
She put in the plural in brides? Oh my. She's like, that's not what I signed up for. Oh, cute Van Helsing.
Oh, no, I won't listen to you.
You must know I wouldn't say such a thing unless I was absolutely sure.
No.
I've got to find him, Marianne. Do you know where he is?
She's like, well, I guess I shouldn't have let him free. I guess I should have listened to his mom.
The old windmill.
Poor Marianne's like, I just, met this guy, thought he was nice, wanted to get engaged. Turns out he's a vampire.
You must obey me in this. Look after her.
Yes, Doctor.
The windmill's giving me very much like Frankenstein vibes, so yeah, I'm very curious to see. We know he's killed Dracula at the end, like Dracula's died at the end of every movie, so I'm assuming the Baron will be not in the next film. Would have been too easy if he was just hanging out in his coffin.
Go on, get him.
Oh my god. And like them wearing all white and just, you know, these very pale faces. Oh my god. She's like, I'm not scared of your cross. Oh, goodbye. Oh! Van Helsing's like, yeah, I just want to steal this back. Thank you very much. Oh, the Baron! Oh, what's he gonna do now? Oh my god. That's terrifying. Why has he got this terrifying chain? What's he gonna do? He's trying to lasso him. Oh, nice. A little roll in the hay. Mm. Oh, bonked him. Oh. I really wish Van Helsing had more weapons. Why is there so many chains? Oh my god. Oh, it's not looking good. What? No. Come on. I refuse. No, 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 no. What? Come on. We can't lose Van Helsing. What? What? No. Come on. Seriously? That's how we end it? And the Baron just walks away? Come on. This can't be the end of Van Helsing's character. No way. We can't do Van Helsing the vampire. That's not how it's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the one catching the vampires. Or is he gonna try and like burn it and hope that gets rid of it? I don't know if that would work. I thought it'd be Van Helsing takes out Baron and that's the end and we move on. But nope, apparently we're still doing more. Oh my god. I feel like he's gonna put that thing on his neck to try and stop it somehow. I don't know. Oh my god, that would hurt so much. And it's such a big, oh my god, that's massive. Yo, ow, ow, ow. Would that work? You would know. The fact that it healed makes me think he is a vampire, though. But he seems relieved, so I'm guessing it worked.
An initiation. Marianne, don't look at his eyes. Marianne, look at me!
Oh my god. No, get hypnotized. Oh my god. The close-ups. Oh, I thought there was alcohol in it to, like, seal the wound, but it's obviously holy water. Yeah. Oh, right in his eyes. Oh. Oh, so melty. Oh my god. Just like Frankenstein, we're burning down this old windmill. Does Van Helsing do his own stunts? Oh my. And he's in a cross shadow of the windmill. Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, that's cool. This ending's had some twists, that's for sure. Ugh, gross. So it's my first time watching the 1960 film, The Brides of Dracula. It's the third installment in this Dracula I don't want to say series, but, you know, going through the different Dracula movies. And the last one I'd watched was from 1958. And we did see Peter Cushing came back to play Van Helsing. Christopher Lee wasn't back. In fact, we didn't have a Dracula character at all in this, which I thought was interesting considering he's, you know, the main villain, but he wasn't back. So I'm not sure what that was about. Let me know in the comments if they just wanted to go a different direction, if there was a casting issue, whatever that might be. But yeah, I was surprised that there was no Dracula character at all, not even like a recasted version if Christopher Lee didn't want to come back, but because obviously Peter Cushing was back. So yeah, I was very curious. It's not what I was expecting at all. And we kind of have this take on, you know, what's become since Dracula's not around anymore. People are still, you know, kind of living up to him and worshiping him, as we have Van Helsing say in the beginning. You know, he's like, his disciples are still around. People are still obviously vampires, and I like that they're kind of doing a different take on each story. It's not just a reshoot, it's not a reboot of everything. You know, there is variation, which I think is so important. I mean, this was only 2 years after the one I just finished, so not a huge jump, but it's nice that they're at least, you know, trying to be a little bit more creative and, you know, make some different choices. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how far they've gotten from the book at this point, or if there are, you know, different storylines in the book that they could explore and just take some creative liberties with. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I enjoyed it. These Hammer horror films are super cheesy and dramatic, but I love that. That's definitely my style, so it was always interesting to see. And, you know, this very aggressive organ music anytime something bad is about to happen, and, you know, this quick zoom in as they look off camera, and, you know, like Dracula, da da da, or vampires, da 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 da, and then, you know, very intense music playing. It did have very similar elements as the 58 version, as, you know, we have this traveler by themselves, you know, goes to this tavern. Some of the sets even looked very similar, like the castle and the tavern looked very similar. And typically, you know, the traveler is going to see Dracula himself, but this version we have Marianne going to, you know, start at a school, so I wasn't expecting that. And to have Van Helsing, you know, get this letter again to come in, because obviously things are happening. And even when he meets that other doctor, you know, this kind of urban folklore that there's vampires about, the doctor's like, oh, that's nonsense, and Van Helsing's very much like, you should probably pay attention to this because it's very much real. And this mother-son storyline where you're like, okay, is the Baroness being overbearing, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with her son, and she's just kept him, you know, cooped up because she wants to, you know, run the empire for longer, or is there actually something wrong with her son? And we find out obviously he is in fact a vampire. I feel like that was kind of a giveaway, because anytime there's a new character involved, you know, a suspicious character, like, what are you doing to the scene? It couldn't just be, you know, a regular guy. Obviously there's going to be something going on, so I wasn't surprised he was a vampire. That seemed, you know, pretty obvious. And, you know, turning his mom into a vampire, and we know from previous films that they don't need to drink the vampire's blood. It's just as soon as you're bitten by a vampire, you become a vampire. And I'm not sure what happened with Van Helsing. He would have obviously researched what to do if you are bitten by a vampire, considering that's what he does. You know, he studies vampires, and would have obviously realized he might be in a situation where he is in fact bitten, because he knows they can hypnotize you and he might not be able to make the decisions he normally would. But for him to burn it off and then to put holy water on it, I've never seen anything like that before. So let me know in the comments what that's about. You know, I've seen quite a few vampire movies at this point, and at no point in the lore has that come up. Basically, it's like once you're bit, it's game over. I feel like obviously for the sake of the character, they couldn't do Van Helsing the vampire. You know, they couldn't have him go that route. There had to be a reason he would be okay, and there had to be an out. So yeah, I'm very curious as to how that came to be, where the source material for that is. And the ending between the Baron and Van Helsing I thought was going to go very differently, because typically, you know, Van Helsing shows up, we kill the vampire, and that's the end. You know, roll credits right away. It's a very, you know, cut off ending. And this time we had obviously Baron bites Van Helsing, takes off, and I was like, okay, does the bad guy get away in this one? Like, maybe Baron will be in the next movie, I'm not too sure. And then to have him be trapped, you know, in the shadow of the cross, and to have him be, that's how he's taken out basically, is he's just, you know, with this holy water burn on his face, which looked terrifying. Like, those were some deep burns, and it was so far down into his skin, and it just, oh god, not a lot of blood or gore, which again I'm not surprised by, but that piece in particular was like, oh my god, god. And the Baron going around, collecting these wives or brides to be, as it were, as, he proposes to Marianne. She's hypnotized, obviously says yes right away, and they're about to get married. And, just as he's proposed to Marianne, he's like, hey, Gina, what are you up to? And then, attacks Gina and turns her as well. And, we had that girl that he killed the night he escaped, she's also there. And just the way that they're dressed is always very, like, ethereal. Like, it's very, like, white dresses, long, flowy dresses, and super, super pale faces. And, I mean, if you want to pick it apart, you could very much tell that the fangs were not real, as they're very, very bright white compared to the rest of their teeth. But I don't care. I'm not here to do that. That doesn't bother me. I'm not expecting it to look like a movie that would come out, tomorrow. This was from 1960. Like, there's gonna be some pieces that, make it look a little bit dated. We also had the shots of the bat, which, again, if you wanted to nitpick, probably didn't look super realistic, but to me, I don't care about that. I understand the time that it came out, and my expectations aren't for it to be, incredibly realistic. It's just the fact that Baron can become a bat or a wolf, and the fact that people he turns into vampires can also do this. And that's how, much like we saw in previous films, a bat comes up to the window late at night, and next thing you know, vampire attack. I love, the sets of that castle on the hill. Yeah, let me know in the comments if the exterior shot was at least realistic, and we have it taking place in Transylvania again, and the interior is like very, very bright and colorful, much like we saw in the 58 version, and, very lived in. Like, if we go back to the original Dracula, it's an old decrepit castle, he's kind of hiding out on his own. Nobody really knows he's there, whereas this is a prominent Baroness, family, and her son, became this vampire after a party, and somebody she knew was obviously a vampire, and she probably didn't know that, but came to this party and then turned her son into a vampire. And the fact that she's like been enabling him the whole time, and I'm sure you could go many different ways with that, but the fact that, she obviously knew and was bringing women to him, or Greta was at least bringing women to him so that he could keep feeding and, stay alive, because obviously if he's chained up, he can't go anywhere. And Greta was very much hypnotized by him. Super creepy performance from her when she's got this menacing laugh, and she's just, got this crazy look in her eyes, and she's like, he'll come back, and shows like the coffin. And yeah, super creepy. I think this is probably one of the creepier ones that I've seen, just a lot of spooky things. And we did hear it in this one be referred to as this mysterious illness, because obviously they look okay physically, other than their teeth, obviously, which come out when they become a vampire, and, not going out in the daylight, no reflection in the mirror, all of those usual things. But yeah, like, he looks fine. When, Marianne first sees him, she's like, okay, what's wrong with you? Like, your mom said you have this illness, you look totally fine, and then she thinks maybe it's an illness of the mind, and they're like, nope, that's not it, he's just a vampire. I don't know if the windmill scene at the end, having it burned to the ground, was an intentional Frankenstein reference, but that's definitely what it reminded me of, as that's how, the 1939, I believe it came out, Frankenstein movie ends with, the monster being burned in this windmill. I'm very curious to see what the next film will be about, if Van Helsing will be in it. He seems to be like the main thread we've had throughout all three films so far. If Dracula will be back, who will be playing Dracula, and where the story's gonna go. And I was definitely expecting Dracula to be back in this, because, even though they've killed him off in previous films, he somehow always finds a way to come back. So yeah, I was not expecting him to not be in this at all. But it was definitely interesting to see how this, vampirism is kind of spread, and obviously Dracula's not the only one. So Dracula obviously bit somebody, that person, spread to somebody else, and just kind of this ripple effect of how, becoming a vampire can spread. And even in the Baron, the like 2 nights or whatever that he was free, he had killed, 2 people basically, and was working on his third to get, Marianne to become his next bride basically. And just this way he's like collecting them. We did see Dracula surrounded by women who weren't really named, they were just kind of there in the very first Dracula film as well. And even in the 58 version, Dracula had somebody that he was just keeping in his castle, and she pleads the story saying like, oh, he won't let me escape, when in fact she is a vampire herself. And the Baron not dressing exactly like Dracula, but obviously having his cape, and we see that big shot where he sweeps his cape over Van Helsing, and that's a very typical Dracula move, is sweeping over and then attacking his victim. And the bloodshot eyes we hadn't really seen before, so that was interesting. Obviously the blood on the fangs we had seen, and the dirt in the coffin, those were very similar elements. And even in the 58 version, Van Helsing has to unalive somebody who turned into a vampire overnight and has to kind of explain, much like he did, you know, at the school in this one, that like, hey, this person is actually becoming a vampire, and gives them the rundown of what to do to make sure that, you know, she stays away from people and doesn't hurt anybody when she rises from the grave. And that shot of the woman on top of the soil, you know, encouraging this new vampire to come to life, so creepy, and it would have been terrifying to see in a theater. Overall, I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying going through this Dracula series of films. So yeah, let me know in the comments what comes after this, which one I should watch next. And much like we had, you know, with Dracula in the previous one, the Baron was only in a handful of scenes. He's kind of just, you know, lingering in the background, and it's more Van Helsing as our narrator, you know, telling the story, and Marianne's story as well, as she's trying to survive and she doesn't realize the Baron is a vampire, and Van Helsing, you know, going through and making sure everybody's okay. I like the cheesy lines, you know, a bit dramatic, but again, that's the things that I enjoy. So this is the second one of the Hammer horror films that I've watched, so I don't know if they continue on for the next few or what that looks like, but I know there is a ton of Dracula movies out there. I was not expecting that, you know, twist ending. I thought it would be pretty, you know, straightforward, and just Van Helsing would take out the Baron and that would be the end of it. But I'm glad they add on, you know, a few extra pieces, and the pacing in this one felt good as well. We didn't have any mention of, you know, Jonathan or Mina or Arthur or any of the other characters from previous Dracula movies. So maybe they're trying to move away from that and bring in new characters. I don't know if any of the characters from this film will be in the next one. Please, no spoilers, but thank you so much for sharing in this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for movies you think I should watch, please comment below. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content. It's so cheesy and dramatic. I love it. Is his illness being a vampire? Why is he literally chained up with like a gold shackle? And of course, the night the Baron escapes, someone ends up dead, as well as his mother. Straight out of the coffin. Here she is. She's like, sorry, I got distracted daydreaming over this vampire and burnt the toast. She put in the plural in brides? Oh my.